mind the fan in the background, or to say, don't mind the fan in the background. It's hot out, and I need a fan blowing directly at me. So I want to address and kind of talk a little bit about the psychology behind the Tate brothers, Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate. They are fascinating, I have to say. They are fascinating. You just watch from a psychological standpoint, from a social psychological standpoint. They are very fascinating people. To me at least, particularly in the red pill. You know, if it was just some regular celebrity, I wouldn't probably care, but because they are so close to the red pill, and even though they have come out and denounced that, you know, what is the red pill, woo woo woo, and that's just the problem with that, is that the red pill gets a bad name because, you know, a lot of times, well, I don't know, because the devil's real, really. The red pill gets a bad name because the devil is real. And the red pill is just the truth. I've said this a million times. The red pill is just the truth. That's it. It's not like a movement. It's not like even a culture necessarily. It's just the truth. So whenever there is red pill videos being made or red pill truths being spoken, posted about online or wherever, you know, because there's no like meetings. We don't go to like the auditorium and have meetings on the red pill. No, it's just stuff that's posted online and people agree with it, and guys come out of the woodwork and just say, hey, yeah, I'm understanding of this. This is this particular aspect of the truth, of the red pill truth, is my experience. I confirm it. That's it. That's all the red pill is. So for Tristan Tate to be like, oh, I'm not a red pill guy, woo woo woo. Anyway, that's just a side note, but I find their lives very interesting, and they are red-pilled. Particularly Andrew is very red-pilled. At least he utilizes the red pill to market himself, and himself is his brand. The Tate, Cobra Tate, Andrew Tate, woo woo woo, right? That is his brand, and he's an excellent marketer. He's an excellent social media influencer. That's his job. He makes money doing that. I highly doubt he was as rich. I think he claims to be a billionaire. I don't think so. From things that I've studied, I don't believe he's a billionaire at all. I think his net worth is around 10 million, 10 to 20 million, something like that. That's not even close to being a billionaire. So it's interesting to note or to just pay attention to his life in general and their life, and it's like they're so polarizing. Their personal life and the things they did to get rich is so polarizing to their message, or at least Andrew Tate's message. Tristan Tate is kind of a little more in the middle. He's a little more purple pill. I wouldn't even say that. He's not necessarily purple pill. He's a little more aloof, I guess, his personality. Andrew Tate is very, very direct, very, very targeted, very, very clear on his message, and he repeats his message over and over again, which is a great form of hypnotizing, is to repeat a message over and over again until it becomes reality, or until it gets embedded in the people's listening's mind. So he does a great job. He's a wonderful, wonderful marketer, wonderful orator, and I've said that before. But what's so interesting about him is the juxtaposition, and him and his brothers, the juxtaposition of their criminal lives with their truth-speaking lives. And it's kind of like Donald Trump. It's a guy who is so good at speaking and so good at captivating and being and using contrarian tactics to the mainstream narrative or the mainstream norm to captivate you. These guys are just actors. They're wonderful, wonderful actors. Because you know darn well their personal lives do not match up with what they preach. You know darn well Donald Trump is not a good person, because you can tell by the way he acts, you can tell by the way he conducts himself, and that's something that's innate. It's an innate human trait to pick up on BS, pick up on bullshit, and to find incongruencies. But for the average normie dummy NPC, the 95, the 90 percenters or whatever they call them, 98%. I forget what they call them in Islam, but the average NPC is probably going to miss a lot of that stuff. People, dummies, low IQ people, which there's a lot of out there, struggle with nuance. They always have. They struggle with nuance, and a lot of nuance is like picking up on inconsistencies, which is like, hey, you did have a criminal empire. Hey, you did do all this shady stuff before you became president. Hey, you did pimp girls, and that's how you got your money, and you admitted to it, and you told us how you did it, and you told us, you told us in detail how you were fraudulently stealing their money and dodging taxes, moving to Romania because it's a corrupt country and you can buy your way out, and all this weird, evil superhero, or not superhero, but supervillain type of behavior juxtaposed with this excellent conveying of the truth, of the red pill truth. So Andrew Tate is excellent at talking about men's problems today and addressing what's going on with young men today. He's excellent at being an orator. He's excellent in his charisma and his captivating. You're captivated when you watch this guy talk. You're like, wow, this guy. And then you almost forget that he's a criminal. You almost forget that he's a pimp and he robbed women of their money. And he admitted to it. So it's just like, there's no debate. But if you're an Andrew Tate stan, which I've debated with a couple of them, they can't accept reality. They can't accept the truth when it's right in front of them. And I've literally showed them the videos. There's video out there of a lawyer breaking down, and it's not jump cuts. There's no clever marketing. There's no taking out of context. The guy literally explains that he steals money from women. He literally explains that in video, and he teaches you how to do it. It's in one of his courses or whatever. So, I mean, the guy's a hard worker. He's busy, and he lives his life. You got to give him some credit in certain ways. And same with Donald Trump. It's like the guy's not dumb. People can say whatever they want about Donald Trump. He's a jerk. He's a mean guy, and that's true. But he's not dumb, and he knows how to market, and he knows how to hold on. Excuse me. And he knows how to captivate with a certain type of charisma / arrogance / confidence type of deal. They're very similar. Trump and Tate are very similar type characters. Anyway, to me, who has a background in psychology, who has a background in the red pill, who understands women to a great degree, who's had a lot of girlfriends, who's totally been entrenched in the red pill because of finding out the truth about female nature, finding out the truth about the Matrix. I know exactly what Andrew Tate is talking about all the time, okay? So I'm not like, some newbie or whatever, like, oh, this guy's cool, he drives cool cars, and I'm so, enamored by his confidence, and so I'm swayed by that, and that's what keeps me from seeing the truth. No, it's like I can detect bullshit. I can detect, I can take from the good, and the bad. I can weigh both sides of the argument and be like, okay, well, this guy is obviously speaking amazing truth, but he's also obviously a criminal. He's also obviously got a lot more going on than just as he presents himself. And it's crazy to me that on a large scale, you got guys like Valuetainment, you got all these podcasters, you got even Pierce Morgan, Tucker Carlson now. These guys are all throwing their hat into the ring of Andrew Tate, and like they believe him, and you can tell by their interviews, they believe him, they buy into what he's selling, and it's like, dang, this guy's a good salesman, this guy's a good marketer, he's wonderful at what he does as far as marketing and sales. And it's just, so for me, it's like I'm not swayed. I've been around, I've known, the pimp game. I grew up listening to pimp type of music, pimp influence music. I've, been around real pimps in Seattle. at least on one occasion, I went to a party where there's real pimps, and people in my family are associated and around pimps. I'm not constantly around pimps. You know what I mean? That's not what I'm saying either. But it's like I know that life. I know what that is. There's a certain type of charisma. There's a certain type of edge. There's a certain type of anyway. So there's a certain type of hidden. It's a subtle hidden type of life, but it's also, very influencing and charismatic, and it sways people, and people can be caught up in the whole regalia of what that charisma is. And make no mistake, this guy is influenced by pimps. This guy is a pimp, Andrew Tate. He's just not an obvious one. Okay, and the reason why I know that is because he talks about his dad being around pimps, and his dad was a womanizer. His dad went out, and his dad was a gambler, and his dad had vices. He was an alcoholic. And I would venture to say the dad failed them. I would venture to say that the dad failed the children by not setting a good example, and they took after his example of partying. They took after his example of excess. They took after his example of living life to the fullest. And it's interesting because it's juxtaposed. They're following in their father's footsteps in that way is juxtaposed with this massive talent. They have massive talent. They have massive natural talent. They have massive natural intelligence, massive natural abilities, and they exercise those abilities, and they know what they're doing. Yet it's juxtaposed with this type of immoral, greedy, licentious, fraudulent, criminal lifestyle. And so it's a case study in psychology for me. I'm just like, wow, that's interesting, particularly because of the red pill, right? Because of how they juxtapose the red pill things. So that's just interesting to me, because it's like, how can they be so truthful and be so talented, have so much ability, yet also be so kind of obvious and subtle at the same time of living this alternate lifestyle, and then to throw it all into confusion, coming around and saying, "Oh, I'm a Muslim, Andrew," and "Oh, I'm a Christian, Tristan," and "Oh, I believe in protecting women, Andrew. I believe in providing for my family, Tristan," and all this kind of stuff. And it's just like, wow, that is so just wow. And you can't fool God. You can fool like many people, but you can't fool God. And if they're really genuine seekers of God, if they're really genuine believers in God, and they really have consecrated their lives to God, well, then that somewhat makes sense that they're going through this suffering, and they might lose some things, and it is what it is. I don't know. But there's a lot in the Bible about ill-gotten gains. There's a lot in the Bible about, gaining riches through fraudulent means. It talks about that in Proverbs and Psalms and stuff like that. If you're and I hate to judge, I hate to point the finger, because I'm not perfect. It's not like I've never stolen anything. It's not like I've never screwed anyone over. It's not like, I'm not perfect. I'm not attempting to be or saying I am. I'm just observing, right? So it is, I have my faults. God knows what my faults are, and I need God. I need Christ. I need the blood, because I'm very far from being perfect. And I like that, in a way, because if I was a better person, I'd probably think I was superior to people. I'm worse. I'm just as bad. I've just as much potential to do bad as these guys. So I'm not saying that I'm any better. So don't misconstrue what I'm saying at all. But at the same time, it's like, well, I don't have the $1 million. I'm not on the national stage. And I don't know if I would be that cocky. I don't know if I would be that brazen. And I don't think it's because they're innocent. I think it's because they're kind of dumb in a way. It's funny how intelligent people can be kind of dumb. It's funny how like very, very book smart people cannot have common sense, or very, very almost genius people might lack common sense. And it was a very big mistake for him to put out his evil doings, out there. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. But I guess at the time he felt that he needed to do it so he could kind of give validity to what he was doing, so he could kind of give you know, so he could kind of validate, himself, I suppose, or I don't know why he did that, but anyway, and I said this a second ago, but I do think it's unfortunate. And I saw a picture of them with their family and their dad, and when they were all kids, and I think that their dad is was a loving man, and I think he was very a family man, but at the same time he had vices, and I think that, again, I'm not judging, I'm just observing, and I think it's sad, and I think that, like, it's just to me it's a train wreck. It's a train wreck meets a circus, I guess you could say, because they put it out there to be famous. I think deep down, what a lot of people overlook and what a lot of people miss about the Tates, Tristan and Andrew, is that they want to be famous. And I think they come from a generation of, like, MTV. They come from a generation of, like, and they were on those shows. They were on those reality shows. They come from reality show generation. And if you look at Donald Trump, he's a walking reality show. That's what he is. It's all about the publicity. It's all about the cameras on me, kind of like Kanye West. It's like, all it's really about is the cameras on me. All it's really about is, like, am I famous? All it's really about is, like, and it doesn't matter how you get there, controversially, criminally, whatever. All publicity is good publicity to these type of people, and they'll use it and they'll twist it to their benefit somehow. And how they've done it, and how Trump does it as well, is they use the negative publicity to sort of jujitsu themselves into people's hearts, by claiming that they're superior, or sorry, not superior, but morally high class, but it's just what they say. It's like, do as I say, not as what I do. Pay attention to what I say, don't pay attention to what I do. And it's the same with Trump and these and the Tates, is that they use that fame, that reality show generation type of media coverage of themselves to tell people. There's an old saying, is that you tell people how you want people to treat you. So they're telling people all about themselves. Well, I'm this, and I'm moral, and I take care of my family, and I'm always honest, and this, and I help people, and they tell the same stories over and over again. If you pay attention to the pattern, you know what I'm talking about. So there's a pattern that they put out, like, oh, well, I'm a good person because I help this person not commit suicide. I help this sad, lonely guy lose weight and become better. And they use these examples to make themselves, and this is Machiavellian. This is using publicity to prop yourself up in a certain way, in a certain light, so that people will be endeared to you and follow you, and like, oh, he's not so bad. So to me, it's just like, wow, well, that's brazen, because it's like, you're obviously a criminal. It's the same with Donald Trump. It's like, you're obviously a fraud. You're obviously a guy who doesn't know anything about politics, even though you might be. And when I say you don't know anything, I mean, like, you haven't served. You're a reality TV star. You're not a congressman. You're not a governor for 20 years. You're not a government person in the background. You're a guy who was on WWE. You're a guy who had a reality TV show. You're a guy who had a rock star life, and then all of a sudden you want to get into politics. It doesn't make sense. You're not a career politician. You're just a guy who's very smart, but you don't really know. Do you know policies? Do you know laws? And that's what's so bananas about our government today, is that there's no public qualification. Did I say qualification? There's no public qualification to where, like, you're actually proving that you know the laws in and out, you know the Constitution in and out, you know how to run a country in and out. There's no checks and balances. It's just a popularity contest. That's how bananas it is. And it's really it's just nepotism. It's all a family tree. All the presidents are related, and it's just a weird cult thing going on behind the scenes. But that's another story. But the point is that it just goes to show how narrow people are, how shallow people are, and how dumb people are when, you know, about who they follow and who they make into martyrs and who they make into saints and who they make their leaders. And it really speaks a lot about human nature. It's like, wow, the bar is pretty low. You don't really have to be, all you got to do is be charismatic, be believable, and be a celebrity and be rich, and that's what people want, and then they'll follow you and make you into a saint, even though like you're blatantly obviously not. But it's sad. It's sad, in the sense of the taste, and even Trump is kind of sad in a way, because it's just like, this guy has everything, but it's not enough. He's got to put himself out there like he's some great leader. It's like, why do you want that? Why not just be happy, enjoy your millions of dollars? But I don't know, man. At the end of the day, it's ego that probably drives these people. It's narcissism, it's arrogance, and it's really kind of a lack of God at its core. It's a lack of God. It's a lack of having purpose in the sense that you're comfortable in your station in life, and I think it might be easier for poor people to be that way, because I think when you're poor, it depends, but if you're poor, it seems like you can appreciate smaller things more. But if you're rich, it seems like you want more and more. It's like, I want the next thrill, and now I want to be known as this great man, and now I want to take over the world, and I want to be known, or I want to be respected and revered throughout the world, that I helped humanity, and I was a great president, and I did that, and I helped, and it's like, you can't save the world that way. It's like, but I don't even think they want to save the world. I think it's more like it's just a narcissism thing. It's an ego thing. It's like they just want to put themselves out there to basically, hey, I'm the man. I'm the alpha. I'm the leader guy. And it's like it comes from a lack. It comes from an inferiority, which is narcissism. If you look at narcissism in a certain light, a lot of the behavior, a lot of the phony confidence, a lot of the arrogance, a lot of the posturing, etc., comes from a lack. It comes from a lack of something in their heart, a lack of something in their inner being. And it's sad, to see that their dad was so brilliant, and he was so great at chess, and he was accomplished, I guess, in his military career for a while, and I think he worked for the FBI or something like that, and he was just he had all kinds of talent, but he couldn't maintain a family, and in a way, he was a failure as a family man. And I view Andrew and Tristan as failures as family men, because you can't have multiple wives, you can't be carousing about and then also say you're a family man. You can't be sleeping with supermodel women around the world and then also say you're a family man. It's like, pick one or the other. You can't have both. If you're going to be a family man, you have to be monogamous to one woman, and you have to have a good quality relationship with that one woman. And your kids need to see that. Your kids need to look at their parents and the fidelity and the monogamy in a loving, harmonious relationship between their parents, and then say, hey, yeah, that's love, and that is something that you can't buy, and that is something that you have to earn, and that is something that has to be genuine. It has to be genuine. It's not something you can perform. It's not performative, where like, yeah, it's Sunday and we're going to get together and act like we're a family. A lot of people try to do that, and they're just really I don't know if covering up is the right word, but they're not congruent. They're not consistent. From Tuesday to Friday or whatever, they live very immoral lives. But then on Saturday and Sunday, they try to be parents or something. And a lot of people, particularly rich people who have money and the time and the means to live that type of lifestyle, it happens, and then they try to patch it up and act like, oh, at our core, we're a family. Look at Conor McGregor. The guy has a loving wife, a lot of kids, family. It all seems on the outside there's this veneer of love, but if you know anything about Conor McGregor, the guy's going out on his wife. He's cheating with all these multiple women. He's going home with women at bars. If you know anything about that guy, and I'm not here to expose people. This isn't clickbait to to judge people and expose, but a lot of these people who are heroes to a lot of these young men, they're not really heroes. They're not really quality charactered men. They're not honest. They're not loving in the sense that they're monogamous, and that's not what a real family is. So, in a very clear and distinct way, that's failure. That's failure of being a real man. So these guys come out and say, "Oh, this is what a real man is," and his advice is brilliant, and it's right on. I absolutely agree with when it comes to the red pill. Everything Andrew Tate says, I'm 100% on board with. I just am. He's objectively, it's the truth. Objectively, he's speaking facts, but when it comes to his subjective lifestyle, when it comes to his personal experience, he doesn't live up to it. He's not a moral person. So you can't, I mean, he can and he does do that, but you can't say you're a family man and I'm successful as this and I want to be